Recap in minutes. In today's video, we will be going through a war drama film entitled Dear Elsa. There will be spoilers ahead, chill out and enjoy. The movie begins with a memory presenting a man reading a journal of Hungarian soldier named Mihai Lombus. It contains a letter towards his loved one named Elsa. It says that he starts writing it as soon as he has a reason to kill her once he returns home. Meanwhile, the day of visiting for the Hungarian soldier arrives. The attendant are screening the Hungarian soldiers that are going home to their families. Lombus is not in the list and the sergeant separates him with the other soldiers. The sergeant hands him a piece of cloth and then hits face that leads to him bleeding. The sergeant will be sending the soldiers that are not in the list to the Soviet Union Russia to fight the remaining Russian soldiers. A few days after, a messenger arrives to their camp to deliver letters to the soldiers. Lombus notices him with disappointment as he does not expect any letter from his wife back in Hungary. Each day passes by and Lombus slowly loses hope that he will ever return to his homeland. At the other side, the Russian telecoms are sending reports about the Hungarian soldiers are nearby. It alarms the Russian commander Kozov at the base camp and orders every one of his comrades to prepare for a fight with the enemy. In front of the battlefield, Lombus overhears their landmines explode. Lombus uses a binocular to see the minefields from afar. He hands the binoculars to the messenger. They spot the Russians using their prisoners as tramplers to avoid the explosions of the landmines at the field. One by one, the bombs explodes. The battle begins and the enemy shoots the Hungarian soldier, and their numbers decrease, putting the Hungarian forces to disadvantage. Lombus and some troops defend themselves, but unfortunately, a bomb hits a house nearby that drops a large debris to his head, making him unconscious for the next few hours till dusk. As time passes by, Lombus wakes up at a trench beside a man trying to scavenge his belongings. He asks the man to return his items to him nicely. The man notices a picture of his wife and compliments her for being gorgeous. He tells Lombus that most of the wives that are left behind by a soldier tends to find a new partner as they misses their husbands. Lombus gets mad at him and tells the man to shut his mouth as he does not know anything about him or his wife. He also threatens to throw him in front of the Soviet forces to completely silence him. Lombus and the man hears footsteps and cheers from the celebrating men above the trench that they are hiding from. He reaches his gun to protect them both. But as the noise subsides, they continue talking about how being drafted at the war ruins every family as you fight the country's war and not for your own good. They soon fall asleep as no soldier will patrol for now. The next morning, they both wake up and the man is wearing a Soviet Union soldier uniform that startles Lombus as he grabs his gun to threaten the man. He asks if the man is from Russia, but thankfully he tells him that it's a uniform from a dead Soviet Union soldier and he steals it to avoid the enemy detecting him. Lombus asks the man if he can find another pair of uniform to disguise himself and he agrees to it. They both tell their names to each other as the man's name is Lajos Cipher and leaves to find a uniform. Soon after, a group of Soviets arrive to survey the area for any living soldier to torture and ask for the position of the enemies. They spot Lombus, who is playing dead to try and deceive the enemy. He fails as one of them leaks at his mouth to prove that his act is not working to fool them. The soldiers takes him to be a prisoner of war and be one of the mine tramplers for the enemy. Later on, at a temporary Soviet camp where they store prisoners at an empty barn, a soldier enters the room and tells them to wake up as they will be sending them to the gulag. Lombus and some other prisoners lines up outside and follows the sergeant leading them to the trains towards gulag. But Lombus notices that Lajos is there giving water at the enemy, which indicates that he is truly a part of the Soviet Union. He attacks Lajos, but the soldiers beats him up and Commander Kozoi shoots his gun to stop the commotion of the other soldiers that are panicking. Commander Kozoi asks Lombus to give him enough reason to not kill him. Lombus speaks 3 languages: Russian, German, and Italian, which intrigues the commander and tells his troops to take Lombus away and treat his wounds. Meanwhile, the soldiers transfer Lombus to his new barracks, which he will be staying at till the war is done or till he dies. Lajos shows up and tells him to stay strong and show no weakness to survive in there, but Lombus has other plans. He wants Lajos to help him survive and escape no matter what. Lajos does not speak and leaves after meeting him there. Morning arrives and their duty to be the mine tramplers begins. The Soviets give them booze and vodka to stay drunk to make it easier for them to accomplish their task being tramplers. Kolya, a jester, dies first as he walks into all the landmines and is not careful enough to throw some rocks to detonate it. Another trampler is Sukhov. He was once part of the resistance before the Soviet turns him into one of their tramplers. One of his traits is to be lucky and avoid almost every landmine. And lastly is Uncle Krugen. He has the most skill to avoid the bombs as he understands how to detect the placement of the landmines that makes all the soldiers follow him to avoid the landmines. Lone Boost group marches and digs trenches for the Soviet if they are not trampling the landmines as part of their duties as captive prisoners. One night Lom Boss and Uncle Krugin is digging the same trenches. He shares to Lombo the trick to detect the landmines. If it is summer, touch the grassy parts only. After days of digging trenches and passing the landmines, it is time for the soldiers to celebrate morning till night. Dawn arrives and everyone is drunk and mostly asleep. Lombo remembers to write down to his journal about how he feels truly towards his wife. He then constructs a plan to escape the camp. He gets a rope and ties a wood plank at the end. He throws it outside the barn and clings it to the chair where Lajos is seating. He climbs the rope, but unfortunately, the commander sits with Lajos, and as he stands up everything falls, and his plan fails, and as he slowly loses hope to escape the camp. The next morning, Commander Kozov orders Lone Boost to translate what the Italian captive soldier will be saying at the interrogation, while Kozov and Kemilkova transcribes the testament of the Italian soldier. The soldier stays silent for some time, but Kozov asks Lone Boost to tell him that he will die if he does not spill the location of the Italian troops around their location. Lone Boost goes overboard and threatens him and tells to give up being a patriot as he will only die eventually at the hands of the Soviet Union. The soldier spills it after a soldier beats up his face and points at the map where the Italian and Hungarian forces. But Lone Boost remembers that he is still a Hungarian and proceeds to tell Kozov the location of the Italians only and hides the Hungarian forces. After a few days of planning, the Soviet attacks the given location of the enemies. They travel by boat alongside the medics and tramplers. Commander Kozov uses a megaphone to boost the morale of his comrades as they appear to be in disadvantage. The enemy badly damages them and splits their forces. Kemilkova's sister Luna is with a soldier and Lone Boost. The enemy notices them, but Lone Boost is hiding with a gun that he picks up from a dead soldier. Luna and the soldier is about to die, and Lajos appears at Lone Boost's side and manipulates him to choose his side, whether to help the Soviet or let them die. Lone Boost shoots a soldier, while the two Soviet soldiers fight off the rest of the Italian soldiers. Lone Boost, Luna and the soldier returns to their camp unharmed as they all recognize the heroic act of Lone Boost towards saving the two Soviet soldiers. As a reward, he moves up as the role as the Trampler into one of the pushers, or he joins the line of the Soviet soldiers that lets the Trampler spots the landmines. One day after the battle with the Italians, Commander Kozov rallies some prisoners are trampling. The two soldiers asks Lone Boost to throw pieces of rocks and sticks to the front line of the Tramplers. But he does not enjoy this kind of treatment and throws the rocks and sticks to the field instead. Him helping the two Soviet soldiers is making him feel like he's a traitor to his homeland. Commander Kozov leads the Soviets arrives at an abandoned factory where a soldier reports the status of the vicinity of the area. She mentions that Italian and Hungarian forces are clear. Commander Kozov tells them that they will survey the area to recover some injured soldiers to gather information. The squad begins to survey the area and they separate using smaller groups to scout the areas faster. Commander leads the other group while Kemilkova leads the other group to find soldiers who are still alive. But little did they know, multiple snipers are around the area waiting for their arrival. Kemilkova notices a dead Soviet soldier that has a hole in the head indicating a sniper nearby. She warns the others, but she is already too late as one of the snipers shoots her comrade. They retreat and find a safe place to regroup and devise a plan to fight the enemy snipers. They regroup with the squad of Kozov and brings out Lone Boost as a bait and to make sure that the area is safe to enter. Lone Boost walks straight to a narrow path where two large trains are blocking the path and visibility. Kozov expects to spot the snipers by using the Hungarian prisoner, but it surprises them as no bullet is fired from any direction. As Lone Boost walks more, the squad thinks that it is safe to enter the narrow path, but as soon as their squad walks forward, the snipers begins to shoot the soldiers, taking out Luna and multiple soldiers before a veteran shoots the location of the snipers. Kemilkova sees the death of her sister and she wants to help her, but Commander Kozov orders her to stay and wait till the coast is clear for her to enter, as she is the only medic at the team. Kemilkova blames Lone Boost as thinks that he pointed out their location with the snipers. The soldiers grabs him and does not let him escape their grasps as he will be facing several punishments and will be put to death row after a few days after the incident. The Soviet scouts the last location of the enemies and Lone Boost reminisces while walking to the landmines about his actions and feels relief as the enemies still consider him as their enemy as well even after saving some of their troops. Lajos appears to his side while riding a motorcycle and hands him a bottle of alcohol and tells Lone Boost that this is the perfect opportunity to escape. But Lone Boost disregards him and tells him that he will escape on his own without his help. Commander Kozov leads the Soviet soldiers to the large fields with blast holes and dead soldiers after the explosion of the landmines. Another commander arrives while riding a military tricycle as he wants the fleet to move forward towards the field to engage the enemy, but soon after, a bullet hits his head, and the soldiers engage the field without any help from the Tramplers. Lone Boost moves forward but tricks the soldier that is following him, who is inattentive. Soon after, the Soviet forces blasts all their weapons at the enemies but is still not enough to eliminate the enemy forces. Kemilkova reaches for the soldier that is following Lone Boost, but he tricks her as well and takes her as hostage to taunt Commander Kozov. The movie ends with Kozov using the tricycle as he drives through the battlefield, but as the rage consumes him, he forgets that there are minefields in there as he explodes. He lives and is limping towards the forest while shooting at Lone Boost. He reaches him and the two fist fights, but Kozov uses a knife to try and end things, and as he is pinning down Lone Boost, Lajos appears and hits the head of Kozov, making Lone Boost the last man standing. Lajos appears to his side and tells him to shoot himself at the head to bleed so the scavengers from the other forces will recover and treat him with no problem. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this and to help the channel grow.